Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Facebook Live. I'm Skip Bayless coming to you live from Los Angeles, from the west side of LA, Century City, about a mile from where tomorrow morning I will engage with Shannon Sharpe and who else do we have? Tony Gonzalez, Eric Dickerson, a cast of dozens on Undisputed. That's from 9:30 to noon Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. But right now, for the next few minutes, I won't keep you too long. I'm going to spill all my early thoughts on everything I just saw in the National Football League. But as you are settling in for my fusillade here, quick cameo from the daughter of Ernestine and Skip, are now almost, when's her birthday? 17th. What are we, to the 15th? So her birthday's in 2 days. She's about to be 1 year old. Hazel, the Maltese. Hi, little girl. Hi, thank you. She likes to make sure my nose is clean before I do Facebook. Thank you very much. Say hi to Facebook. What do you think? See Hazel? She's a little dingy. She usually gets washed on the weekend, but Mom's got to take her to the vet tomorrow, so she didn't get a bath. Not yet, until after the vet. Thank you very much, Hazel. Thank you, Ernestine. Back to business, back to Aaron Rodgers. Just made me sick today that after we lose J.J. Watt and we lose Odell Beckham Jr., now we've lost another big star, superstar, Aaron Rodgers. I'm not the biggest fan. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm not piling on now. He can be a thin-skinned diva. There's things personally I don't like about him, but I respect the heck out of his game. And he whooped my Cowboys last week, making this smart, shrewd operator decision to go back to Devontae Adams on little 5'10" Jordan Lewis, the third-round rookie of the Dallas Cowboys, and 6'2", went up over 5'10". Aaron missed the first throw, made the second throw, and it tore my guts out, but it's a big-time quarterback play by a big-time quarterback. I assume a future Hall of Famer, although he only has one Super Bowl to his credit, but given the fact that everybody's already proclaimed him the greatest thrower of the football ever, I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers is a first-ballot Hall of Famer, and now he's a nobody famer because he's gone maybe for the rest of the year. You remember in 2013 he cracked his left collarbone. This time he cracked his throwing shoulder collarbone. He missed 7 games in 2013, came back for the finale at Chicago, and hit Randall Cobb with the late touchdown pass to win the game and the division, and that would be a little more doubtful this time for Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure I'm going to catch a lot of grief and heat from my debate partners, lots of Hall of Famers. Tomorrow, Shannon Sharpe, Eric Dickerson, Tony Gonzalez will be. I'm not sure who else is on tomorrow. I'm a little foggy on it. Maybe Michael Vick. Not sure Michael will be a Hall of Famer, but he was a superstar. And I'm sure they're all going to say, I assume, because that's all I heard all day, it's a legal play. No flag was required on the play. He was outside of the pocket. He runs a lot, so he had given himself up as a runner. Baloney. I'm sorry, I'm going to defend Aaron Rodgers on this. I tweeted about it immediately. It's been an ongoing pet peeve of mine. I despise the fact that this league allows in the pocket for a pass rusher to sort of follow through and drive a quarterback into the turf after the ball is gone. And it's no different outside the pocket. Quarterbacks are the game. Aaron Rodgers is the game. I don't really want to watch Green Bay with Hundley quarterbacking, whoever else they come up with. And a quick thought there before I leave this. I just listened to a whole game that Tony Romo did with my guy Jim Nantz, and there is no way Tony Romo is going to leave the booth to be the Green Bay Packers quarterback for the rest of the year. Tony Romo has turned into a superstar broadcaster. I don't know. He wears me out sometimes. He talks a little much, but he's like a little kid on Christmas morning with all his new toys, and he's looking down at the field from a safe position in which he can't throw the interception that will lose the game for my Dallas Cowboys, and he's just having the time of his life. And he steps on Jim Nantz, and he sometimes accidentally sort of makes fun of Jim Nantz's gaffes, whatever. Not that Jim makes a lot of gaffes, but he mispronounced the name, and Tony's making jokes about it. But it's just Tony being Tony. But the point is, I'm pretty sure people love him because he's really, really smart. he really can read. Jerry Jones always said he'd make a great coach. I think he wouldn't make enough money to be a great coach or to try to be a great coach. I think his future is in broadcasting, and I just don't see him giving up such a plum gig to go play. Again, I'm sure he would be just as attracted, sort of magnetized by the Green Bay opening as he would by Dallas Cowboy possible opening. I got to knock on wood, make sure I'm not jinxing Dak Prescott. But yeah, Tony grew up in Wisconsin as a Packer fan, but why would he leave the booth, especially after he's done nothing? He looks like he doesn't do much workout at all. That's just me, especially after I saw him last year on that Tony Romo night at the Mavericks when it looked like he'd put on a few pounds. Tony never was a workout warrior to start with. Do I think he could go out and do a good job for the Packers? I'm sure he could do better than Hundley will do, or whoever they call in to do. I assume they'll just go forward with Hundley. But he's not going to do it. So forget about it. And he's out of sight, out of mind for me as a Cowboy fan, because Dak Prescott's having an even better year than he had last year. Unfortunately, he doesn't have anything to show for it, or not much, because they are 2-3. And now it's debatable which team has been the bigger to-date disappointment, the 2-3 Cowboys now on a bye week, or the suddenly 2-4 Oakland Raiders. And the dumbest pick, quote unquote, that I made before the year was I thought the Chargers were going to be really good. I thought maybe it would be a new thing for them to play in like a high school stadium and just suddenly catch fire as the team nobody wants stuck on the south side of Los Angeles. And, of course, their rookie kicker misses a kick in the first game. It cost them the Denver game, and the second game cost them the Miami Dolphins game. And today, finally, they had Novak that they'd signed because they dumped their rookie kicker, whose name escapes me. And he finally made one, and the Raiders lose at home. So back to Aaron Rodgers. Forgive me for free associating, but it's just a cheap shot. It's just you can't let Anthony Barr follow through on a completely defenseless Aaron Rodgers. And again, I'm being totally objective because I don't like the Packers and I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I don't like anything about Green Bay, but that was a cheap shot. That should be legislated out of the National Football League. A quarterback has to get protected when he has released the football and is completely defenseless. You have to pull up just the way you pull up on a punter. You can't just run over a punter when he's defenseless. You can't even nick a punter when he's defenseless. So that's going to be 5 yards. Or if you run over him, it's going to be 15 yards. Well, this should be 15 yards every time because it's just not fair that all of a sudden you allow, I don't know how much Anthony Barr weighs, 250 or 240, whatever he weighs, just to fall on, to follow through and fall on top of Aaron Rodgers' shoulder. We see it all the time. Bad stuff is going to happen. Your collarbone is going to break. How many times I see Tony Romo's collarbone broken on a play like that? God, remember, it was just last year, 2 years ago, game 2 at Philadelphia. Same play happened. It's just, it happens all the time. It happens all too often. You got to get it out because I don't want to watch Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. The game's on, they're showing the play on NBC as I speak. And he goes down and he crushed him. Just full force running start, just crushes him. And Aaron Rodgers was furious about it and screamed at Anthony Barr. And I don't blame him. Because it's a cheap shot. It shouldn't be in football. It shouldn't be allowed. And I'm sure all the Hall of Famers will tell me tomorrow it's just part of football. Baloney, it's part of football. It can't be, or you're going to ruin your game. They're having a hard enough time with the protests hurting the popularity of the game, tearing people apart. So I'll leave it there until tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure Shannon Sharp and all the Hall of Famers will argue against me. We'll see. I never know until I get out there. Again, Undisputed tomorrow morning, 9:30 to noon Eastern time on Fox Sports 1. But I'm gonna drive them into the turf on this one, all those Hall of Famers. They can't win this debate from me. I mean, Shannon has never won a debate from me in his life, but I'd like to see him trying this one because he's going to get embarrassed. And speaking of Colin Kaepernick, now I read the reports that he has filed suit through the celebrity attorney Mark Garagos against the NFL for collusion. I don't have any doubt it was collusion. I just don't know how you prove it. And this is just my early gut feeling on this. I have fought and fought and fought for Kaepernick belonging in the NFL. Obviously, he's better than a lot of quarterbacks. Although I must say, Shannon always makes the point that Colin Kaepernick is so much better than Josh McCown. I'm not sure he's that much better. Josh McCown is pretty good, and he gave Tom Brady and company all they wanted, threw for whatever it was, 330 or so today. I guess everybody does that against this New England defense. But the point is, this strikes me, unfortunately, as a last hurrah for Colin Kaepernick, because once you file suit for collusion, you pretty much burned your bridge. I don't think you're going to win it. You got a celebrity attorney, you know, Mark Garagos from representing Michael Jackson, Winona Ryder, Scott Peterson, Chris Brown. I could go on and on. Every time I look up, he's on some other news show or whatever show. Sometimes he guest hosts, so he's a celebrity attorney. I'm sure he's going to love the publicity of this, and he'll grandstand. And there's no doubt he has a case. It's just so hard to prove. Did you not take Colin? You know, did you reject Colin Kaepernick because he kneeled? Did you? It's just impossible to prove. And now it strikes me that they're just going to want a settlement, because I don't think you can win in court and force a team to give you a job. I don't know. Maybe you can. I hope so for his sake. But it sounds like it's just a money, like a cash play, cash out play, where the NFL would try to pay him to go away. Great. I didn't want to see it come to this. My friend John Wooten, and I hate to advertise for ESPN, but John Wooten, who runs the Fritz Pollard Alliance, once blocked for the great Jim Brown, been a prominent black voice overseeing the Rooney Rule. He's gotten a lot of minority candidates, head coaching, assistant coaching, GM jobs around the league. And he's going to be on, I think it's Outside the Lines tomorrow on ESPN at, I believe, 1 Eastern. I hope I have that right. I think I do. But John's just been campaigning for Colin Kaepernick to stand up and speak out, because all the NFL GMs that John is in touch with just say, well, we don't even know what he's doing now. Is he really? He needs to talk. He needs to have a public media session in which he sort of reasserts himself as a football player. What's he thinking? They want to see him talk to the world and just say, my heart's 100% in playing football, or I'm 50%, or whatever he would say. You know, how committed he is he to being an activist, to the cause, whatever. I don't know. I can't put words in his mouth. But John Wooten, prominent black voice, has been extremely outspoken. I'm sure that's what he's going to say tomorrow, that Colin needed to speak. But he wouldn't speak, and now we're 6 weeks deep in the season, and nobody's heard from Colin Kaepernick, I guess, since last football season, the last game he played for San Francisco when he spoke post-game. I guess that's the last time I heard from Colin. I know they released some statement, I think, maybe, I'm losing track, 3 months ago, saying that if he did have a job this year, he would stand for the anthem. That's the last I heard, and that was a statement. And John Wooten is extremely upset with Colin's sort of inner circle, his representation, his counseling. He thinks he's gotten bad advice. So John's going to, I think, unleash on that on Outside the Lines tomorrow. God bless John. I'm a big fan, big friend. And yet, I just don't know. This seems like it's approaching a sad end, unless you can tell me that just as a martyr, Colin Kaepernick did a lot of great things beyond the NFL. I've said this on Undisputed, again, 9:30 to noon Eastern Time, Fox Sports 1. I've said it 100 times this year. I believe that Colin Kaepernick last year had national impact. I believe he went down in history. I believe, and I'm just speaking as a white guy now, I think he opened a lot of white people's eyes and hearts and minds, and I just think he made all of us think a little more about what I've been saying for 3 years on national TV was just a sickening problem, an escalating problem among white cops, with no responsibility shooting unarmed black men, maybe some black women, black people. And it just turned my stomach. And again, I started talking about that probably 3 years ago on First Take. And I've continued to campaign about that, as have many people this year. So Colin has greatness about him to me. His purpose, his goal has greatness. It has historical greatness written all over it. But obviously, he's a young man. I'd like to see him play a few more years of NFL football, which he's eminently qualified to play. But now, once you go to Mark Garagos, celebrity attorney, it just comes across as last-ditch, desperate. I just don't think anything's going to come of it. I don't know. But I'll be interested. Shannon's he's going to unleash on this one tomorrow. Which brings me, hang on, to the rest of my list. A few quick hits for you. Adrian Peterson. What a day he had today. I knew he had a lot of Adrian Peterson left in him. I knew when he gave that death stare to Sean Payton on opening, whatever it was that Sunday? It was a night game. Was it Sunday night at Minnesota? I just knew as they left, they were going in at halftime, and he gave the death stare to Sean Payton, bridge burn, doghouse, you're gone. And I thought New Orleans was going to be a hot team this year and have a chance to be a wild card team because of Adrian Peterson. And I think they're going to be a wild card team because they got rid of Adrian Peterson. They're already starting to take shape in spite of him. But I knew he had a lot left. But clearly, you got to literally give him the reins and the ball. And if you want to stick with Mark Ingram and the kid Kamara, I'm great with that. But I thought that Adrian Peterson could have really lifted the Saints even to a higher level than they played at so far. And he lifted Arizona today, and God bless Jameis Winston. He got hurt. And I'm not sure exactly. I haven't stayed in touch here the last few minutes with how bad his injury is, but he didn't last very long. Hurt his shoulder, tried to come back in and throw with it for a while. I think he went 5 for 10, and then it was Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that turned into a nightmare situation for them. I'm happy for Adrian. I like him personally. I know he's been through a lot, and I think he showed the Hall of Famers on my show that he's got more left in that tank than maybe they thought. Also, quick thought, think that Jay Cutler from my school, Vanderbilt University, maybe he showed Shannon Sharpe a little something today because he went up to Matt Ryan's house and I'm not saying he outplayed Matt Ryan, but he beat Matt Ryan at Matt Ryan. Hey, Shannon, how much of an embarrassment was Jay Cutler today? I will ask you that same question tomorrow on Undisputed pretty quickly. Maybe not at 9:30 Eastern, but maybe at 10:05 Eastern. You better get ready to answer that question, Mr. Hall of Famer from Savannah State. I just had to get that out of my system. Pittsburgh, Kansas City. It just amazes me how some teams just have the other team's number. And I tweeted this, but if Pittsburgh could play at Kansas City every game the whole year, they'd be in the Super Bowl because they just look different there. They play faster. They play more physical. They look like the Steelers there. Le'Veon Bell loves to run against that defense. I have no idea why. It doesn't make sense on paper. But once they took Kareem Hunt away from Alex Smith, guess what? He turned back into Alex Smith, and he misses a late throw for a touchdown. I know he had pressure on him, but you just got to make that throw. Just throw it up. Let your receiver just gather it in. They blew the coverage. That would have made it a ball game, and then he missed another over the middle throw that was wide open late in the game, and Alex Smith turned back into Alex Smith, unprotected by Kareem Hunt, who caught some ball. I think it was like 7 for 89, but what was his rushing? I'm off the top of my head, 9 for 21. Boy, they just shut him down after we were talking with Eric Dickerson about, is he on a Hall of Fame sort of path? Sure looked like it through 5 games. Only Eric Dickerson, our guy on Undisputed, his rookie start was still ahead through 5 games of even this kid's, to tell you how great Eric Dickerson was. And I've said this on the show, and I believe it. The greatest running back I ever saw, I shouldn't say that, not ever saw. I'm not just doing an eye test. I'm just looking at the scope of achievement. I think Eric Dickerson was the greatest ever. Just on scope, full career achievement, he was something. Whew. And his Rams went and won today. Didn't surprise me at Jacksonville. And quick thought. San Francisco at Washington. It looked like it was going to be a blowout in favor of Kirk Cousins and company. And all of a sudden, Kyle Shanahan decides, I've seen enough of Brian Hoyer. And in comes the kid from Iowa, the third-round pick, C.J. Beathard. And all of a sudden, he starts rocking and firing. Maybe the Redskins had let down a little bit. Maybe they weren't ready for this. Maybe they hadn't game planned against what he does versus what Brian Hoyer does. But C.J. Beathard looked really good. And now the 49ers, if I get the stat right, the first team ever to lose 5 straight games by 3 points or less, and I guess in NFL history, which does not bode well for my Dallas Cowboys as they head to San Francisco. And this is obviously sort of win or go home. You just have to win this one or you are done, man. The Eagles are flying. Fly, Eagles, fly. I say fly, Cowboys, fly, because they're going to fly at San Francisco, but it won't be easy even against this rookie quarterback. I used to know Bobby Beathard when he ran the Redskins and built Super Bowl teams for them. This is his grandson, and boy, he looked good today. And I assume they'll start him next week, but I don't know. Brian Hoyer scares me too because he's capable of big games against big teams when you least expect it. He's also capable of just complete stinkers, as he was off to having today. But Shannon Sharp already bet me. He threw it out on the table, then he tried to rescind. I'm not going to let him rescind. He already bet me a case of Diet Mountain Dew that the 49ers would virtually end my Cowboys season next week in not actually in San Francisco, but in Santa Clara at their fairly new stadium. And so I'm going to hold him to it. I am going to bet him a case of Diet Mountain Dew because I believe my team will play for the first time all year since the opener against the Giants with what Coach Popovich of my San Antonio Spurs calls appropriate fear. They have played like fat cats all year. They think they can just sort of roll their helmets out as they did at Denver, and they're so good. That star in the helmet will just scare the other team into submission, and it didn't happen at Denver, and it didn't happen in the second half at home against the Los Angeles Rams, and it didn't happen in the second half at home against Aaron Rodgers and company. So now I'm back-to-back home games. My Cowboys have blown leads of 24-13 in the first half and 21-6 in the first half against Green Bay, and that won't cut it. The defense won't cut it. I hope Sean Lee gets healthy. If he's healthy, then I'm good to go. I will win a case of Diet Mountain Dew at San Francisco, and then the real games start. And as you know, there are 2 left with Washington, 2 left with Philadelphia, 1 left at New York. But I still believe my Cowboys will win the division. But I'm starting to wonder, did Jerry go into this year, I'm talking about Jerry Jones, was his whole plan this year just to rebuild on defense and hope the offense could sort of cover it up the way they did last year? They lost their whole secondary after last year when they were top 5 scoring defense. And now I'm starting to think, Jerry, I keep waiting. And now they cut Nolan Carroll, their one quote-unquote premier free agent signing. Nobody cared, but he started the last 2 years every game for Philadelphia and 54 career starts. And so I thought, well, at least you got somebody who's been there and done a little bit of that. He was pretty terrible at Denver. Then he went in a concussion protocol, and now he is out. And Stephen Paya, who actually had some good moments early in the year as an interior tackle, he's gone. They cut him. So I guess they're going young. And the opponent's quarterback is going yum, and just bombs away. And I'm a little nervous. I just don't know if the kids are all right. I don't know if the kids can hold it down. After a bye week, we were supposed to have Orlando Scandrick on Friday, kind of a friend of the show, although he always comes after me on the show. But he opted out because they had their big protest meeting about what they're going to do at San Francisco. And I think everybody was locked down by Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett. No comments. We want nobody to comment on any of this. And so I guess Orlando was a little afraid to come on Undisputed because we would obviously hold his feet to the fire for a comment. Him being a captain, team leader. What's up? What are you guys going to do? Your owner backed you in the corner. He said, you don't stand, you don't play. Really? And I advocated on Undisputed, again, 9:30 to noon Eastern time on Fox Sports 1, that, hey, if I were Zeke or Dak or Dez, and I'm obviously not capable of feeling what it feels like to be in their shoes as human beings, but if I could, I just think, knowing the way I'm built, I'm a rebel with a cause, always have been, always been a fighter, always been against the grain for what I thought was right and what I thought was true. Man, I'd lean toward kneeling if I were a Dallas Cowboy. It's just, you just can't do that to me and what I would believe and stand for. But I'm not one of the Cowboys, and obviously I'm not black. That's just my 2 cents from a distance. I'm worried about the Cowboys in the big picture, but I'm not worried about at San Francisco. Deshaun Watson, I said it before the draft, Cleveland will be foolish. They will forever regret it if they don't take him, and he did it to him again. No rookie has thrown more touchdown passes this quickly. He's just a stud. Again, Dabo said he was sort of Jordan-esque. I don't think he meant he was Michael Jordan, but he meant in character, makeup, intangibles. He's just got star quality. The bigger the stage, the better he's going to play, as we saw twice against Alabama. I love Deshaun Watson, and I can't believe Cleveland passed on him twice in the first round. Twice. And here he goes. And Mitchell Trubisky won a game today, but he was 8 of 16 for 113 yards. But they rushed for 231. Quarterback's best friend, especially a rookie quarterback, is the run game. What have I missed? New Orleans. My man Shannon Sharp said repeatedly to me over the first 2 weeks of the year that New Orleans will be historically bad on defense after that opening night loss to Sam Bradford up at Minnesota. And I kept saying no, because I liked New Orleans before the season started. No, they will not. And he said, you know and I know they're going to be historically bad. No, I don't know. I said it, 3 times on TV, and he just ran over me and kept going with his point. And so now they shut out the Dolphins, and today they scored 3 defensive touchdowns, and New Orleans is starting to percolate, man. Starting to look pretty good. And the only thing that is a bigger disappointment to me than the Cowboys is the Raiders. I like the Raiders, I always have, and I had high hopes for them to at least be a wild card team, and now, if possible, they're a bigger disappointment than my Cowboys have been. One team is 2-3. The Raiders just fell to 2-4, and that hurts the NFL too, because the Raiders, they could have been something this year. I mean, they could have helped the popularity of the league. The NFL is better when the Raiders are in the mix, and I know the quarterback got hurt, Derek Carr, and he came back today, and maybe he wasn't quite right, but man, that team, something is not right, and that coach is going to be on the hot seat, and they won all those close games last year, and they're not winning the close games this year. But I will win all the debates tomorrow on Undisputed. That's not a prediction, that's just a fact. I always do, and I'm sure some of you will run to Shannon Sharp and say that I predicted that I will just dominate tomorrow, but I will, you know it, and I know it. I'm excited about it. It was a good day even without my Cowboys, but we will talk some Cowboys tomorrow because, again, I am going to remind Shannon Sharp he already bet me a case of Diet Mountain Dew that the Cowboys season will effectively end in San Francisco. That will be brought up tomorrow, 9:30 to noon Eastern time on Fox Sports 1. It's Undisputed, refereed by Joy Taylor, and I will be up at 2 o'clock in the morning Pacific time getting ready for that show. I always got up at 5 to get ready for First Take, so I keep all my clocks and watches on East Coast time, so I don't think of it until I say it here that, 2 o'clock. Ernestine hates it because she tries to actually get her life going on West Coast time, and she can't understand it when I say I have to be asleep by 9 this time, which is midnight Eastern time, or I got no shot. So I hope after the late game tonight I will be asleep by 9 Eastern time. No, 9 Pacific time, midnight Eastern time, and I will see all of you very bright and early, at least for me. It will be 9:30 Eastern time on Fox Sports 1. Another good day in the National Football League, but a sad one. No more Aaron Rodgers, I guess maybe for the rest of the year. Hope I'm wrong about that. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Facebook.